Oh, I need to do the change. All right, let me get up. Got to shed some weights. All right, the structure of the board has not changed in the last 1 year. We'll still have the board of directors. We have the council of elders. The chief executive and the staff report to the board. On the board, we have members who represent regions, 6 regions, and we have 2 independents who don't represent any of these regions. We also have alternates who, per the former structure of the board, we operated, and our decision that will let them serve their term to the end are still on the board. We have 4 committees of the board. There is the audit, nominations committee, finance, and that of remuneration and compensation. The board currently is occupied by Andrew Halston, who's just gotten on the board this year as an independent, as well as Christian Bob, who's on the Central Africa seat. They have 3. And Chris Seaborn from representing the Indian Ocean. That's our colleague I've sent you update on. Is doing very well in the hospital right now, and we're trusting it will be fine and very fine. Representing North Africa and West Africa is Itham and myself, and also a non-regional director, Aminata Garba, the only lady on the board. We have 1 more year, if you don't count this year. And representing Southern Africa and East Africa, you have Palos, Nyirenda, and Badru Intege. Their tenure will expire in 2015. Adiel Aplogan, the CEO, is appointed to the board. And of course, he has indicated intention to disengage from the company by the 31st of January 2015. The alternates who are still on the board due to our transition process I mentioned, who would be leaving at the end of their tenure in 2015, are Mal Kelkins, representing Southern Africa, and John Walubengo, representing Eastern Africa. In terms of subcommittee composition of the board, for finance, we have Mark, Badru, myself, and Adiel. And for audit, Andrew, Palos, Chris, and John Walubengo. For remunerations and compensation, Aminata, Christian, Badru, Itam, and of course Adiel. And for the nominations committee, we have Mark Hawkins, Sami, Sally, and Leon Samfos. So far in 2014, we've had 9 board meetings, 3 face-to-face and 6 via teleconference. Face-to-face, we met in January when we had a retreat here in Mauritius. We met during the AIS and Afrinic 20 in Djibouti, and we met again for a couple of days here in Mauritius. We did have 2 emergency teleconference meetings when the CEO indicated his intention to resign. The board has made about 12 resolutions in 2014 related to the strategic plan, the budget, the policies, our investment policy, delegation of authority, and the recruitment of a new CEO. And of course, some other minor policy, administrative policy directives. Let me use that term, so somebody won't come back to hit me later that the board is making resource policies. Regarding board proceedings also, we had to deal with the CEO departure and replacement, and I'll be giving a separate presentation on that shortly. We also went through a change in board leadership with Badru Ntege stepping down and myself being elected as chair, while Badru was again re-elected as vice chair. The reason for that change in leadership is to assure continuity because the CEO is leaving, and we thought it would be a bit harsh to have a new CEO next year, a new chairman. We don't have a COO. There will be so much disruption in the system that we thought an orderly transition from now will help achieve stability in the organization. Last but not the least is the board is considering the appointment of Adiel as a non-voting director after his departure to create a bit of institutional memory and a more resilient AFRINIC. And, last but not the least is that we have worked on a 2015 to 2019 strategic plan for AFRINIC. We had community input in AFRINIC 19. The board made additional work at the retreat in January 2014. And as at this meeting here in Mauritius, your board has resolved and passed a resolution to adopt that strategic plan, which will be made public and will serve as a guiding post for AFRINIC in the next 5 years. That's it. That's the update from the board. Can I have the second presentation, which is got to do with the CEO recruitment? And I'll run through that too quickly. Just to make sure the 8 minutes does not include the time for the chair, so I don't want people looking at their time. All right. So CEO search update. Background to this is that the incumbent CEO, Adiel, has indicated his intention to disengage from the company with effect from January 31st, 2015, as I mentioned, and in accordance with Section 17 of our bylaws, which specifically says that the directors shall appoint by a majority vote the chief executive officer on such terms and conditions as they may determine. The board then went ahead to initiate a CEO recruitment process. That process is going to be managed by the board, and the board will make a vacancy announcement in accordance with the timeline for the recruitment. Applicants are expected to put in their applications by the 19th of January, and we will then do a long listing. Forgive me. 19th of December 2014. We will then do a long listing, and preliminary interviews will be held online, electronically, to interview and get the list of candidates down, and final stage interviews will be held face-to-face in accordance with the timeline. At that point, we'll check references before we make a final offer of employment to whoever we will. Shortlisted candidates we will also make to take personal profiling exercises and psychometric assessment. And then the board will select the CEO from the final slate of candidates after we have negotiated contracts. So that's the process we will follow. The board has then set up a recruitment committee to manage this process, and chair of that committee is our Egyptian Haitam, followed by Badru, the vice chair, Andrew Alston, myself, the chair, Paulos Nyirenda, and Adiel Aplogan is serving as the secretary of that committee in a non-voting capacity. The terms of reference is clearly spelled out for the committee, and it's on the URL there in the presentation. We have approved as a board various documents by resolution to guide this process. There's a terms of reference of the recruitment committee. There's a recruitment process itself. There's a recruitment timeline, the vacancy announcement which has gone out, and the CEO job description, which would give the prospective applicants exactly what type of ocean they are taking a dive into. All these documents are available on the website for review and for study. And the board did a reality check. We saw that it's possible to get a CEO in 3 months. It's possible to get in 6 months. It's possible not to even get in 6 months. So we wanted to make sure we don't put ourselves in a situation that we really don't know where we started from and where we will end. So we thought the most reasonable thing would be to appoint an interim CEO so that that interim CEO can work with Adiel throughout the month of January for transition, and thereafter serve until we can put in place a CEO. And we thought if we are going to go this route, we must ensure that we don't create other problems in the future. So we wanted to make sure that we will appoint the interim CEO only after the close of applications for two reasons. One, we don't want to appoint someone who may have interest in the substantive job and thereby disenfranchise the person. And second, we don't want to appoint somebody who has interest and thereby give the person an undue advantage. Because once you appoint someone to a position, it may be very, very difficult to replace them because then they learn on the job and they begin to exceed those who may challenge them. You know what happens with African leaders. Right. The recruitment timeline is as stated, and 4 of the tasks out of 12 are carried out. As of today, we are waiting for the close of application, which will be by 19th of December. The board members who are serving on the committee have agreed that this is going to be a no Christmas. We're going to walk through the Christmas and New Year period to make sure we have our interim CEO in place, and also by January, we will be working very hard, doing face-to-face interviews to appoint the substantive, or towards appointing substantive CEO. We recognize the fact that this is a process, we are on it, and the board will try to work as much as possible to follow this process we have defined so that we will not be shifting the goalpost in the middle of the match, and everybody will have the opportunity of competing fairly, and the organization will get the services of a fantastic CEO at the end of the day. Applications are going to be evaluated against an evaluation and criteria and scorecard, which will only be limited to the board committee. We don't want to publish this because then once you publish the rules, people will start looking for the loopholes to pad their applications. So the guideline for evaluation exists, but I regret to inform you that that is going to stay with the secret working group. The board is very open to the community for input, and we will solicit and take the input of the community, staff, and outgoing CEO in consideration by the time we select the new CEO. And if peradventure, because you know when you make plans, according to Murphy, anything that can go wrong will go wrong. If we miss any of these milestones, the board is going to communicate promptly with the community and tell you what mitigating steps we are taking so that that milestone we missed will not have a significant impact on the activities and plans we have made. That's it. Thank you. I'll take questions at the end. So I think we'll take the member services update now, and I'll call Arthur to do justice.
Bonsoir. Good afternoon. My name is Arthur Carandal. I will present the update concerning member service activities. Thank you. So, before going forward, it's important for me to share with you two main points. The first one is the objective that has been assigned to my department, and secondly, what has been achieved so far. So we have four main objectives for this year. The first one is reviewing the membership enrollment procedure that we will use to recruit, to evaluate new membership, as well any requests from current member. The second one is increase IPv4 resource distribution. The third one is increase the member base. And the fourth, improve service delivery tools that we are using to service our member. So the first objective, how we proceed to enroll our new members. In the middle of this year, we recruit 3 new staff, for Housemaster team, we have 2 IP analysts, Game Showa, Kison Fukira, and 1 member service liaison, Radha Ramfo. So when those staff join our team, we work hard, very hard, on our procedure, so that at the end of this year, member service procedure used to evaluate our members' request has been recommended for ISO certification, which means that the way we are working is according international standard. And we are really proud for what our team has done so far. The second thing is how members evaluate the way we work with them. We have built an online survey that our new members use to share with us the sentiment, the feeling about the way we service them. And 93% of members surveyed are really satisfied with what we do. The second point is concerning IP distribution. Madhvi is there. She will go deeper, okay? But so far, we have distributed at the end of October more than 9 million of IP addresses. And over the past year, more than 49 million of addresses. You can see here the geographic distribution of IP resources. Most of the IPv4 has been issued to South Africa, which represent 21% of the total IPv4 used within the region. But you have Egypt, South Africa, Morocco, Algeria as well, Nigeria. I'm sorry. Okay, concerning the membership base increase, as at the end of this year, we only achieved 46% of our target, which means that the number of new members required has been low, and we didn't achieve our target due to some reason I would like to share with you. The first one is the low number of membership applications we receive. Over the past 4 months, we receive, in average, 20 new applications, which is very low. The second point is the slow response during the evaluation. When we receive any application, the hostmaster works on the request, but when we go back to the applicant requesting additional information, sometimes it takes a long time, and that can impact, okay, the time dedicated to evaluate the ticket. I would like to recall the community that we are committed to issue IP resources within 15 days for a new member, and additional resource 7 working days. The last point is the slow time taken by the applicant to respond and to pay the invoice, as well sign the RSA once they have been approved. So all those reasons, okay, explain why the number of new members is very low this year comparing to the previous year. So far, you have here the geographic distribution of our members. You have the top 10 countries with more members: South Africa, followed by Nigeria, Kenya, Egypt. But the total, so over the 10 here, we have reached 1,129 members. But that numbers will increase if we didn't close members that haven't paid the invoice. So this year, we closed 23 members. But if you compare over the past 3 years, we made any effort to recover membership fees so that we can see we came from 40 and we reached 23. Most of the half, okay, has been paid the invoices. So many efforts have been done, okay, to increase our membership fees recovery. So the last part is what has been done concerning the tools that we are using to deliver services to our members. The first thing is the membership registration portal. This has been built to facilitate the registration of our members. You can go online and you have every step that has been automated to facilitate your application. We like it. So far, we are doing something. We are doing effort to improve it, but you can still use it. We have associate member registration portal as well that has been built to facilitate the registration of associate members. And we have the member satisfaction survey that our members can use to evaluate and to share their comment and input concerning the process we are using to evaluate the request. And the last one is member information management portal. Is very important for us as Afrinic staff because this tool will help us to have in real time information that can help us to take appropriate decisions. And here are a summary of activities that has been carried out by my department. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Arthur. 1 minute saved. Madvi, let's see whether you break the record.
Morning, ladies. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to go through the registration service update for the year. First of all, the department overview will be on the agenda. Then we'll go through the registration service processes, some statistics, and some observations from the registration service department. So we're part of the member services department at Afrinic. We start with myself and 2 IP resource analysts, and we're also supported by the member service liaison as we give service to existing Afrinic members as well. The objectives, as Arthur mentioned, we have common objectives, but so I'll skip the first 3 and I'll talk about we had set as objective improvement on our documentation and the tools that we have that we make available to our members. Teach and approve in cases where we see our members having difficulties in meeting the policy requirements, having difficulties in managing their IP number resources. INRM training, we also help out the training department in conducting INRM training on the continent at their request. And we have now started giving support on the routing registry, which went live earlier this year. So for the processes, it has been a continuous improvement of our processes. We implemented an internal audit process where, especially as we have a new team in place, where we look at how well we're doing in terms of evaluation of resource requests in compliance with the existing policies. And lastly, we are also recommended for ISO certification in October this year. Some observations from the host masters. We launched the NMRP, the new member registration portal, 6 months ago. So that was in May this year. And 6 months later, as at recently, now I'd say, our observations are that we still have poor IP addressing plans being submitted in the initial request for membership and resources, as well as the lack of supporting documentation to substantiate, to justify the resource request. So the Hostmasters have gone back to the drawing board, and we have worked on the specific module of that portal and improved and written down the specifications on how it can be improved. We have also seen reverse DNS registration issues. Our members still face difficulties in registering their reverse DNS on the WHOIS database. We still have requests from organizations who have obsolete contacts, so we have to walk through them to update their contacts before we can proceed with the actual request, because we can only attend to requests from registered contacts of our members. We also faced issues about non-payment of annual fees. So the RSA does state that we'll give service to members who are in good standing. So if they haven't paid, then there are some delays as well in us attending to that request. And the Hostmasters asked me to put the last one, is that we do get pressure from some requesters and some impolite language being used in the interactions, both email and phone. So now we invested. So we already planned for training of our Hostmasters in terms of handling such difficult cases. Regarding the resource pool, this year the global policy at IANA level was implemented, and we had 2 iterations of us getting resources from IANA. So these are the free blocks of IP addresses that we have received this year. The next iteration will be in March 2015. You'll note that these are not /8s because IANA has already run out of /8s. These are allocations from what IANA has as pool of IP addresses, RIRs or some legacy resource holders returned IP addresses, so those were given back to the IANA. Regarding the Ipv4 statistics, we generated some granular statistics this time in terms of the number of prefixes we allocated and assigned. So in blue, the prefixes we allocated, that means the amount of blocks of IP addresses that we issued to our LIR members, so that these are the prefixes that were further assigned to the customers of these LIRs. And in red are the prefixes assigned to our members. So that means these are the blocks that are used on the members' internal network and are not further redistributed. So you'll note, like in terms of the amount of prefixes, it's usually like a 1 to 3 ratio. But when it comes to the number of the count of IPv4 addresses issued, this is the global yearly stats. We have had a record this year. We beat the 2011 figures, and we have issued nearly 11 million of IP addresses, and these are the stats as at yesterday. Globally, we have issued about 60 million of IP addresses since 2005. At June this year, I had mentioned 6.4 million of IP addresses issued, and we have issued a further nearly 5 million of IP addresses in the next 5 months after that. Under evaluation at the moment, we have roughly 3.5 million of IP addresses requests that are still being evaluated. As available, we have 2.98/8 as available in our pool. So now we've gone beyond the free/8s that we spoke about before. And regarding V6, we have issued in total 445 V6 prefixes and 1,141 ASN to our members. We had a new policy that was implemented this year. We had more than one policy, but this particular one, the no reverse unless assigned policy, when it was implemented, we found that 207 LIRs were not compliant, and that was at 22nd of September 2014. And they were facing issues. The others that were registering the reverse DNS, they were not understanding the error message. So despite AFRINEC communicating to our members about this policy implementation, we were receiving a lot of requests from our members asking, why we're getting this error message, how can you help us? So the registration services at AFRINEC, we advised the members, and we also coached them to register the assignments before they could proceed with registering the reverse delegation. In terms of inconsistencies, these are not during our interactions with our members, but these are exercises that we continuously work on during the year because it helps us sanitizing the data in the databases as well. So this year, what we've looked at are the resources in the WHOIS database that do not have a maintainer, which is the organization's, the members' maintainer, and we also looked at overlapping assignments because at some point in time, the WHOIS database was allowing for overlaps of IP addresses, and that was a concern because we could not exactly calculate the percentage of IP addresses being used by our members. So we had to coach them, some of them very big members, so we had to coach them to resolve those inconsistencies. As part of 2015 initiatives, we have put down some specifications in regard to how we can enhance the member portal. That's from an RS point of view based on the type of requests that we have received. Are there anything that we could implement in the tool that the member portal that the members already have? So if any of our members out here, you want some features new features that you want to see, then please send us an email, we'll take it up. And as a reminder, we have a member services booth outside. Radha, the member service liaison, usually mans it, but there's also Kisan and myself who are the backups. Okay, thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Madhvi. Dead on target. Patrice. No one has gone beyond the time limit, so let's see how you do.
Hi, everybody. I'm here to present the Finance Department activities update for 2014. I'll start with the departmental structure. We're a small-ish department. We have 5 people plus me. We have an accounting unit of 2 staff. The accounting units are mostly concerned with the financials and actual accounting, transactions and recording. We've got the billing unit, which we've got 2 people, and then we have the travel unit, which is a travel coordinator, which handles all the travel for the staff and all the delegates. During the 2014, we've had a couple of movements in the department. We've had 2 departures, and obviously we've managed to recruit 2 new staff. The replacement, although was fairly short-ish, it has had some small impact on the operations, but we've managed to keep that to a minimum. Like all the other departments, we all were involved with some major activities during the year. So I've split that into 2 halves. The first half of the year. The first, indeed, at the beginning of the year, we all participated in a strategic plan exercise, which led into the formulation of the strat plan for 2015 to 2019. We concluded the billing 2014 exercise. Most importantly, most of our time was spent on a statutory audit, and which end up with a signed audit report. That took a lot of our time. We also participated in the preparation of the ISO certification, which has been mentioned a couple of times already. And in this case, the preparation was really tidying up all our processes and make sure that we follow what we say we're going to do. We also involved in the billing queue cleanup because we do receive a lot of mail, and over time it tends to accumulate. And one of the exercises that we had this year was participate in the RFP for the external auditors. As you may all know, we have actually changed our auditors for the first time since the initial startup. And there was an RFP that was sent out, I think, with the new auditors appointed during the AGM in Djibouti. And again, we also participated and prepped for the AIS meeting in Djibouti. The second half of the year, again, we carried on and finalized all the ISO certification prep. And with the new external auditors coming in the picture, they started an interim audit, which was slightly lengthy because they had to get a feel of the system and a bit of a feel of our environment, which is slightly different from what they are accustomed to. We also, one of the big items this year was the change in functional currency. I think if everybody was in Djibouti, that was mentioned, that Afronic was going to change the functional currency from the Mauritian rupees to US dollars. This, of course, involved changing of the system, database, and everything that goes with it. We've also on the activity plan for 2014, we had a request to set up a fixed asset register. That's also well underway. We should be able to complete all that by the end of the year. And towards the end of the second half, we started working on the budget for 2015, which included the formulation of activity plan and also putting together all the departmental requests for 2015. We also prepared ourselves for the billing 2015, and we also involved in the travel management system. We're developing a new travel management system which will help us better manage our travel activity, which is one of the big sections in the organization. And one of the ways of trying to keep the cost down is to have a properly workable travel management system. We also implemented the recommendation by the external audit and the audit committee during the year, which of course followed from the external audit exercise earlier during the year. Some of the challenges that we keep on facing was the continuous chasing of unpaid fees, which is part of a day-to-day activity. I must admit that there has been a big improvement in that. And we also had to deal with the departure of staff and obviously the associated disruption created by the departing staff, and also adaptation of new recruits. The change in functional currencies, which we thought initially was going to be a walk in the park, didn't quite end up being that way. It involved a lot more than we thought, but we managed to deal with that. And we had to handle the newly appointed external auditors, walk through the system with them, so that they are a little bit more accustomed with what we do and everything else. And I think Archer mentioned earlier on about the new membership, which has been a challenge this year, and that was also part of the challenges we've had. Now, what we've accomplished and the milestone for the year, we successfully completed the 2013 annual financial statements, which ended up with a signing and approving of the financials by the board and the community. There's been an improvement in a marked improvement in debt collection rate compared to previous years, and I'll talk a little bit more about that just now. And we also managed to we should be completing a complete change in foreign currency by the end of the year. At the same time, we have also implemented the integrated fixed asset register in the Pastel module. At the same time, we've managed to reduce the turnaround time on the billing queues. We've been recommended for the ISO 9001. I think that's been mentioned a couple of times. I think it just goes to show everyone is quite proud of that. Implementation of a revised format of our 2015 budget. That's really presenting the budget in the form of a activity project-based budget. And at the same time, we are ensuring that all the audit recommendations are implemented by the end of the year. Now, I mentioned earlier on about improvement in the collection fees. There has been a marked improvement this year compared to previous years in the rate of collection. And if you look at this little table, it will show you what we achieved in 2012, 2013, and 2014. There has been a really big turnaround in terms of fee collection. We actually put this down to the implementation of the late penalty fees, which tends to be resisted by late payers, but that has worked fairly well, and I think we're having a much, much better response in terms of payment this year, and we expect this to move forward in the right direction going forward. And this also, I think, has been a team effort, and also improvement in our processes. And also there's been an improvement in the communication to members in terms of reminders and regular contact with members. And at the same time, we've actually stuck with what the policy says. If members don't pay, they get closed. This seems to have contributed to the improved collection rate for the year. And I think we're seeing a new trend here, which we would like to keep going forward. I also mentioned that we had undertaken to change the functional currencies from Mauritian rupees to the US dollars, and this actually involved quite a few steps before we could get it all done. We needed to get approval from the registrar. There's a need to create new database with the home currency as US dollars. We had to transfer all the data from the old database to the new one. And we had to import all opening balances into imported transactions and reconciling bank accounts and create billing into the... This is the high-level numbers for where we see ourselves by the end of the year. I think there has been mentioned earlier on about the drop in new membership. This has impacted on our revenue income, but all the same, we have also had experienced a drop in the operating cost as well. Thank you.
I think there's some conspiracy here. People are ending on the dot of the minute. All right, good job, guys. All right, thank you, Patrice. Next is Christian.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'll try to walk you very quickly through the main activities that we've set up this year and that are still ongoing. Those we've completed this year as well, so I'll go briefly over these. But before, I would like to thank my colleagues in the HR and Administration Department, Yavish, Salvina, and Emma, who've done a very good job this year. So our HR team objectives are to optimize services Afrinic offers to our members by improving performance of our staff members. Let's have a look, first of all, at the existing organizational structure. You will recall that last year, the operations consisted of 3 subdivisions. This year, we've added 2 new divisions to better serve the community. One of these is the Research and Innovation Department, which is headed by Alain Aina. And the second one is the Capacity Building and Community Development, which falls under Mukom Tamon. Now, briefly, the evolution of the staff, you will notice that in 2011, 2012, we set up a new structure. So we had to recruit lots of people to adapt to the new structure. And in 2013, we've reached a plateau, and you will see it has plateaued in 2014. It is a bit slightly low. The number of employees is slightly lower today as it was in 2013, but we've got 4 new employees for whom we've applied for an occupation permit. So by the end of December, we will be slightly higher than in December 2013. These are the employees we've recruited during the year. You will see that most of them are straight replacements. An IP number analyst, member services liaison, head of communications and public relations, Gael, who will intervene just after me, James Chiawa, who is an IP number analyst, an office administration manager, an accounting assistant, and a new travel coordinator. Most of these are straight replacements. Now, I'll just give you 2 slides. The first one are the projects we've completed this year. We had 2 very huge projects on which we laid stress this year. The first one is the ISO certification. We've documented 84 processes this year, and we've been audited on 45. We've completed the external audit recently, and we've been recommended for certification. We were expecting to get the final ISO certificate to show to you, but it's coming in a few weeks. So I would like to thank all the heads of departments and executive team, ADL, and the other, my other colleagues, because they've been doing a tremendous job during the year to make us obtain our ISO certification. Now, the second big project we had was the performance management system we've been setting here. We've tried to adopt the best practice, that is, starting at the top by defining the objectives of the company based on the balance scorecard, on the Kaplan and Norton's balance scorecard. Then we've cascaded these objectives to the departmental level, and then the department has split the job among the individuals. Now, the PMS is divided, at individual level, is divided into 2 parts. The first part contains the measurable objectives, which we measure by assigning key RAs, key results areas, and key performance indicators to each staff based on the balance scorecard. And the second part, this is the part we can't measure. So this part are the behavioral skills. And what we've done this year, so that it may not be so subjective, we've done it last year as well, is we've done a 360-degree feedback exercise. That is, everybody at Afrinic has been assessing everybody else on 14 or 15 criteria, behavioral skills. So this part we've completed this year, and we've compared our results to those of last year. There are not big differences. But our weak points still remain the same, that is soft skills. So this is why our training program next year will be mainly on soft skills, leadership skills, communication skills, etc. Now, last, I will go through the projects that are still ongoing. The performance management system, so I was explaining to you how it was split into two parts. The behavioral skills, we have catered for it. The measurable part of it, we've set up objectives, KPIs for everybody. So it's going to, we are assessing the people based on these two criteria this year, and next year we are going to fine-tune this part. We are laying emphasis on staff engagement as well. We will measure this year the staff engagement and set up a program to see how we are going to evolve. We are putting a continuous effort to keep the best working environment to our staff, because this is very important. If somebody wants to come to work, he'll give his maximum. If somebody is not happy in his work environment, obviously the performance will suffer. So this is why we lay a lot of emphasis on the environment, the working environment. Now, the fourth project is the salary increase exercise. You know, when we started some years ago, the salary increase exercise was based on years of service only. Now, little by little, we are shifting to performance, and this year, 60% of the increase will be based on performance and 40% on years of service. And we are going, little by little, to push it further. So we are going to assess the performance, and the salary increase will be more and more linked to the performance of the individuals. Now, what we intend to do this year as well is to identify the indices of productivity at Afrinic. We've identified some, but we need to put a list of indices of productivity so that we can measure and see the evolution of our productivity. The sixth project is talent management. You know, talent management is measured on two axes. One is the performance, which we are doing, and the second one is potential. And when you finish, you draw a grid, performance again against potential. And those who fall on the top of the list, potential and performance, are those who are really considered as talented people. Right? So we cannot manage what we can't measure. This is why we want to measure potential before setting up our talent management system. And the last project on which we are still working is the culture change at Afrinic. We're trying to develop a culture where we become interdependent. We work together as a team. So we've adopted the 7 habits of highly effective people last year. All people have been trained. And this year, we are, Yogesh is here. Yogesh has been heading this project. And this year, what we are doing is taking our leaders to a higher level. We will make them follow a course which is called, linked to the 7 habits of highly effective people, which is called Great Leaders, Great Teams, Great Results. This is going to take place in January next. So these are, in a nutshell, the main activities that we've organized during the year and that are still ongoing. Thank you for your attention.